Howdy, y'all. Welcome back. So, we here at Fighting the Envelope are glad to be alive. So, the Ginger Ninja and myself, B. Willie, almost died an untimely death due to COVID 19. But do not fear, everyone. Do not fear. We are back to take on the world. And I'm not sure if Cameron agrees, but I know he does, that this is where we take off. This is our spaceship. And the shotguns get shot from here on out.
Yeah, I think such a close to death experience really made us want to go out with a bang. We could not be. The next episode of Fighting the Envelope couldn't be guaranteed. We're lucky to have this one, so we're tired of tiptoeing around people's feelings. We're ready to start crunching on some
Hot
hearts,
takes.
some hot takes.
Yeah, I think so. I experienced everything: shortness of breath, fever, coughing, chills. What else? What were the other COVID symptoms? Those are the four biggies: headaches, migraines,
Loss of taste.
loss of smell. I had the whole package.
I didn't even know that I had it. I just tested because my work wouldn't let me come back in, and I found out that I had it. I was actually asymptomatic. It was pretty easy. I think that you're a bit of a crybaby. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
You're a bit of a wimp.
I might be a little bit of a wimp, but I actually have to say I actually didn't feel it at all. Actually, it was kind of chill having COVID, if we're being for real. Like, I was just kind of chilling the whole time. But we're here. We're glad to be alive. So today's episode, we talk about artists that Cameron and I we don't vibe with. We think they're overrated. We had some suggestions from my friend Tyson Young and my friend Joey Larkin. Thank you to them. Big shout out. And then Cameron and I also had some picks of our own as well.
Yeah, I feel like we've referenced a few of these bands in our last episodes. This isn't really, and we both don't agree on every single one of these. Some of them Brandon thinks are overrated. Some of them I think are overrated, and some of them we both think are overrated. So this one's not really like a platonic listing, where we both agree and we have happy, conversations. We're looking to shed some tears this time.
You know what? Audience, don't stop believing. We're going to get it started hot. So the first band we actually chose was Dun Dun Dun, Journey. If I must not take anything else to my grave or leave anything in my will, I do wish one thing that I would be remembered by as my presence in life. I oh so dread the painstaking noise that Journey bringeth to my ears. Oh, how the days long to never have to hear another wretched song of theirs, I do so hope. To me, Journey represents the sect of contemporary America where 50-year-old women dream of flashing their outrageously short jorts and drink Budweiser while getting wasted amongst their indistinguishable companions. Now, let's go ahead and say it. We all bleeping hate Don't Stop Believing. As a matter of fact, only approved once in my life, and that was in the Sopranos finale. And even then, I wanted to shoot my brains out until they turned yellow. So, as a matter of fact, if I hear Don't Stop Believing, Faithfully, Separate Ways, or Any Way You Want It, then there will be no hesitation to find a teddy bear to hang. And plus, this band's from San Francisco. Like, shouldn't they have some sort of counterculture thing going on? Like, they definitely are the bigger bands of the arena rock stage. I know a lot of arena rock stage happen to come from San Fran, but can't we just go back to the basics of life when counterculture was king?
Yeah, I think that if I never heard any Journey again for the rest of my life, it would still be too soon. Like I think we've stated before that we're not big Journey fans here. They are pretty much as basic as you can get, and they didn't really do anything too crazy. Like some of these other bands actually like have some big accomplishments that are a little bit harder to argue are overrated or not. But Journey, I honestly don't know any big, like crazy things that Journey did. When were they even established? Were they the 70s or 80s?
It's like, so I think they came together in 1978 officially. And it was like members of Santana's band and like another like obscure band that I can't think of the title of right now. But they formed together and history was made, I guess.
Yeah,
if you want to say that, not really.
I was aware that some of them came from Santana, but that explains it. I feel like a lot of those basic bands from the '80s are, we have another one of those on here, the basic white mom bands. Like I don't know how else to state how they are.
It sucks because Santana is not a very like '80s like 50-year-old white woman band.
No,
either. They're one of the best of the counterculture, for being honest. So I don't know how this bleeping garbage was made to begin with. I really don't.
I don't think that I've genuinely ever enjoyed a Journey song. I have listened to their other songs other than the four pillars of Journey that literally everybody lists. You ask somebody like if they like Journey, they're like, yeah, I like Journey. Okay, what's your favorite song by them? It's always one of those four. They can't name any other four outside of that. And I think that going forward, to establish a band being overrated or not, they have to get a lot of praise for doing so little. And I think Journey is one of those bands that everyone's like, yeah, Journey is like one of the greatest bands of all time. But they can't really, lay out the discography, lay out the timeline of Journey that like what they've done, what they've, added to music. And I think that they are the epitome of a band that is overrated. They simply, like I said, the fan base, if that's what you want to call it, is just basic music people that are stuck in the 80s, or like those young and up and coming like ultra conservative white kids that are like, yeah, oh, I listen to that. I wish I was born in the wrong era. I'm only like 15 and I listen to these great bands. I don't listen to that mumble rap. You know what I'm talking about?
I only listen to mainstream music, okay? And it's wonderful.
But you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh, I know
right?
what you're talking about.
We all know those people.
Dude, your whole argument can be also made about Nirvana, because people in Nirvana, yeah, Nirvana's like my favorite band of all time, bro. Oh shit, what's your favorite song? Oh, it Smells Like Teen Spirit. Just because I was like born in the wrong decade, and if I could be anything, I could live throughout the 90s and just rock to Nirvana, bro.
Okay, Nirvana's not on this list, but if you want to go into some Nirvana, I do not think Nirvana.
They're not overrated. I was just saying it's the same. It's the same.
I guess I understand what you're saying. There's definitely a group of people, a group of Nirvana fans that would say that. I already picture a few faces that, when you started making that joke. But I would not say Nirvana's overrated.
They're not overrated, but it's the same
concept, kind of.
It's the same. The same people. I feel like if you listen to Journey, you listen to Nirvana.
Yeah, it's just that very like surface level basic rock fan that's like, oh yeah, I liked music when it was real, not all this fabricated electronic crap. Sorry. But Journey's just, again, one of those bands, and like I said, I've listened to their discography outside, and I wasn't all too impressed. It's kind of no surprise why these are the only 4 songs that people really know them by, because they don't really add anything, I don't think.
The last thing I'll say is, there is a quote out there, and it does say, it's not about the journey, it's about the destination, but I have to disagree. I think it's about the destination.
You mean the journey?
No, it's not about the journey, because we hate Journey. No, the quote is, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Oh, shit.
Yeah, you said that backwards.
I said it backwards. Man.
It is about the destination.
It is about the destination.
See, that's how mad Brandon is talking about. He can't even think straight. He just wants to punch a hole in the wall.
That's going to go into our follies in like 20 years, where people will go back and listen to all of these.
But, Journey, definitely an easy one that I think we can both agree are pretty overrated.
And we'll hit you with another one that we think are overrated. Bon Jovi. And to me, it's more like Bon, no, thank you. Same vibe as Journey. They literally that 80s arena rock vibe, and you hear those same songs over and over again on the radio. The same people say this is the best music that God ever put on this planet. It's the sect of the human population that can be described as the utmost worst. Also, rave hard about this one. Remember the jort wearing Budweiser 50-year-old women?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. But he has more of a tint of the 80s hair metal folks that just can't seem to let him go.
Yeah.
It's time to set the butterfly free. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what makes it unbearable is he just keeps coming back. Like every decade or so, it's just he does something and releases a song, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, I forgot how amazing Bon Jovi is."
Yeah, Bon Jovi, he came in late 80s, right? He started to, like you said, he was kind of like that group of hair metal that just wouldn't let him go. Because, like, he came, I'm pretty sure it was the late 80s. And that's when, the music industry started to switch from, like the Aerosmith and the Twisted Sister and, just those those are the two big hair.
Twisted Sisters.
Those were the two big hair bands that came to my mind. But really any band from the 80s you could argue was a big hair.
Not Def Leppard or Motley Crue or anything. Twisted
Sisters.
I
don't know why I was thinking the Twisted Sister. I'm sorry. Maybe I was thinking of Overrated. Twisted Sister feels like a little overrated.
No one knows who Twisted Sister is. What?
Okay, my bad. Maybe they're not overrated. But anyways, it was kind of going from that, at least in the rock genre, it was going from the big hair bands to grunge. That's when we started to see a lot more like, like the grunge scene was, I was reading online about how grunge was like, you when you look at like the timeline of music, you see like shifts in, the musical trends. And I know that grunge was coming right after the big wave of hair metal. That was when you started to see like thrasher metal, and it was a little bit more like down to earth and grimier, and that was the appeal of grunge. Where big hair was a lot more like, I mean, it glam rock. It was like, just very like, what's the word, like fantastical. Like it was just like very like dramatic, and I think that again, I really like the statement that you said about how Bon Jovi is like that group of people that just could not let that go, because they want to sound kind of like, oh yeah, I'm
macho.
BA, yeah, I'm macho, wanted dead or alive, man, oh yeah, and it's like no, you're just wanted out of the scene. We don't.
It's just like, please run away.
just go away.
That's a somewhat catchy song by him. If I had to pick like a somewhat, it would be "Runaway." That is kind of a catchy song, but
to Bon Jovi's credit, I think if I had to choose, I would choose Bon Jovi way more than Journey. I think Bon Jovi has a little bit of a better discography, but again, I think that ultimately it's not his discography that's discussed. It's those main songs, Living on a Prayer, Wanted Dead or Alive, Shot Through the Heart, like just all of those, or yeah, that's what it's called, Shot Through the Heart. It's just all of those, or is it You Give Love a Bad Name?
Give Love a Bad Name. I was gonna say You Give Love a Bad Name.
It's just those songs that like that are, oh, you like Bon Jovi? Oh yeah, I like Bon Jovi. I listen to this. It's like, oh, what about his later stuff? Like you could even say, what's the other one that he came out?
He made one for the movie Bolt.
Yeah. No, that's not what I'm thinking of. There was like one that he came out like late '90s, and it was, It's My Life.
Oh yeah.
Like I feel like that one was like okay. Like I don't know. His hits are, I wouldn't even say they're gateway. Again, I would say they're surface level basic. If I don't expect anyone that like really have a serious music conversation if they're like, yeah, Bon Jovi is one of my favorites,
But what that does leave is for us to have these hidden gems. We have Pavement, we have Sonic Youth, so many good bands from that transition between the 80s and the early 90s. Again, a lot of the grunge bands, such as, Nirvana's not a hidden gem, or neither is Pearl Jam, or
right.
Neither is really any.
None of them.
Soundgarden maybe a little bit.
Soundgarden, I think, is a little bit. I think you could argue Alice in Chains is a little bit more of like a hidden gem, but Pearl Jam, maybe, I think you could argue Pearl Jam to a degree can be. I think if you discuss outside of 10, then yeah, they have some hidden gems, I think.
So,
Keep
guys, keep your Bon Jovi.
your Bon Jovi.
You're not changing anyways.
Yeah.
It's too late. That I think the break-off period was 2005, and if you were still drinking beer and jorts, then you're doing it now. You're doing it till you're 80.
See, I wouldn't even really necessarily like bash on Bon Jovi as much as I do if like people just didn't cite him or cite the band as, just amazing, like it they're mediocre, they're okay. Again, they didn't really push anything. They were just riding out a trend that was, like
No envelopes were pushed.
no envelopes were pushed. No envelopes were fought, no currents were pushed.
I think I was going through Reddit just because I love Reddit, and like one of the things that like the Reddit subline or what's it called? The Reddit thread said was, "Wanted Dead or Alive is musically and lyrically one of the douchiest songs ever written," and that was probably just one of the funniest things I'd ever heard. But honestly, I think I might add something else to that Reddit thread. If I wanted to listen to music that makes feces come out of my ear, I just listen to Nickelback.
Hey, don't bash on Nickelback too hard. I actually think they're okay.
Yeah.
I think they're on the same level as Bon Jovi, but they definitely get more hate. Like, they're more of like the mainstream band to hate.
Look at that photograph!
Even though I think that they're kind of on par with one another. Like, I think Nickelback's just a little bit more country and a little bit more modern. But, you know what I'm saying?
I don't know.
No, you don't.
I don't
You
get what you're saying. I don't know what you're saying at all. But, so this is easily one of the worst musical artists in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I think the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is kind of a joke to begin with. And just the fact that Bon Jovi is in, it's disgusting to me.
When you think of like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, it's just like rock and roll is a genre where it's supposed to be like fighting the system and like changing and like and all that. It's just supposed to be like like giving it to the man and everything. And it's just like, yeah, I don't see Bon Jovi doing any of that really. He's just kind of a douche then.
I think we might have an issue though.
Oh, sorry.
But not with Bon Jovi. With our next pick, this is where the anger begins. This is where people are really not going to like what I have to say. And
yeah, this is more you than me. I can see some of your arguments for it, but I don't think that they are overrated.
King. No. It's the band Queen, actually, the opposite of King. And I understand this is a hot take. Freddie Mercury is one of the best vocalists of all time. There's no doubt about it. It's really hard to make that argument. And Brian May is a solid guitarist. But man, if I hear one more MF person say Queen is the, quote, greatest of all time and name the most basic song, then I'm just going to go drown myself. And I mean it. And after their hits, you don't really have much depth. And even with their hits, I still wish to never hear them again. The one kind of like Don't Stop Believin', the one I will give them only because of its use in a movie is You're My Best Friend, because that was used beautifully in Shaun of the Dead. I mean, what I might have to say is also a very hot take, but if Freddie Mercury never got AIDS, Queen would just be Bon Jovi. And their performance at Live Aid is not as hyped as they make it out to be. There just happened to be a lot of people there because, Freddie Mercury was dying and they were, I guess, quote, die-hard Queen fans. So, of course, everyone was there. But it's really nothing to be amazed at. Even the movie rendition. Honestly, that movie, Bohemian Rhapsody, that movie sucks.
You didn't like it?
No.
I didn't think it was bad. Oh, no, I think that the concert at... where was that concert at?
Live Aid.
That's one of the most iconic concerts.
Yeah, but it's not because of Queen.
I think it is. I think, so that you started it off with appreciating, Freddie Mercury as an amazing singer and Brian May as a good guitarist. And I think that that's what differentiates them from Bon Jovi. I think that where Bon Jovi's lacking any real, like, I don't want to say talent because, anybody it's not easy. And being a musician, like, it takes some talent. And I don't want to say Bon Jovi's not talented. I just think that they don't utilize it as well as Queen. Whereas Freddie Mercury is going to go down as one of the greatest frontmen. And I think that you can,
It's hard to argue.
I think that you even acknowledge, like I said, that he's a really good singer. And he's just kind of an icon. You could argue whether or not because he had AIDS and he had such a dramatic exit. But I think that at least, when Queen started to bleed into the 80s. 80s were a very flamboyant time period, you know, like it was a very flamboyant. 80s were pretty gay.
Yeah, and I wish I was kind of there because we were born in the wrong generation.
And I think that Freddie Mercury and I think even Elton John were kind of ahead of the curve. Like they are going to be listed as one of the more influential like gay frontmen. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying, dog.
Yeah, they kind of they were out there before everybody else, and I think that can also go into how I wouldn't say Queen is overrated necessarily. I think that some of their songs are overplayed, but not overrated.
So there are 2 points I'm going to make here that are totally polar opposite of each other. So it's going to be part of your conversation, kind of. I mean, we are talking about Queen. I will say, obviously, we're big album men. We love albums. We both have very killer vinyl collections. Even me, who just reached 102 the other day.
Did you
Very
really?
proud of myself, yeah.
Oh my
And I finally got
goodness.
Blonde on Blonde, and that was one that I've been needing forever.
Wow.
But Night at the Opera, it's a good album. It's right where it needs to be. It's the one that has Bohemian Rhapsody,
Right.
and it's the big like rock opera. It is a good album. It's not one that I'm necessarily going to go to. Obviously, their artwork and some of their albums are really cool, like News of the World.
It's one of the most iconic, you know, like Family Guy making fun of how freaky it was with Stewie and everything.
Yeah, that's a classic bit.
And I think that, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think that News of the World is one of those albums that people get because it's, I know this album cover. Oh, doesn't have, it has We Will Rock You on
We
it,
Are
right?
the Champions.
And
Yeah.
We Are the Champions. And people go to that album and buy it because they think that, you know, it has We Will Rock You.
It's
has
going to be the best album I've
Well,
ever
I
heard.
wouldn't even say that. I think that they don't even acknowledge that the other songs on there. They only buy it because of the iconic art piece and those 2 songs on there. And I wouldn't say it's a bad album. It's not a great album. It's just kind of like I would give it like a very generous 6 out of 10. It's an okay album. It's I don't hate it, but I also, you know, I wouldn't. It's not a go-to.
It's probably a 6 on my book too.
Yeah.
Night at the Opera. I don't want to rate it high, but I'd probably rate it 7.5.
I was gonna say I'd give it like a 7 and a generous 8. Like it's one of those better albums.
But
I even think sorry, I don't
no,
mean to keep
no,
interrupting you.
you go, sweetie.
I think Jazz was a pretty good album too. I think it was an okay album. I think it's one of their more overlooked albums. I don't know. I kind of liked it.
It's a hot take. That's probably going to be. It's been a while since I've heard that.
I was gonna say what's on Jazz? Fat Bottom Girls is on Jazz. I know. Isn't there? What was the other one? Don't Stop Me Now. I mean, like there were a couple good ones on there.
Yeah, I think Fat Bottom Girls is, I guess, another one. If I have to get on board with it, I'll get on with it. Oh, it has Bicycle Race.
Yeah,
too.
Bicycle Race was on it.
I think this is probably, if I remember correctly, it's probably another 6 out of 10.
I would give it a 7. I think that I wouldn't rate it as highly as Night at the Opera, but it's probably one of my more like hidden favorite Queen albums. Like I'll go to it, like I kind of forget about it. It's a little bit forgettable, but when you find it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is an okay album. This is a decent one.
Now, where Cameron and I very much differ, not necessarily just on Queen, but just like how we view media. I'm more of the film and TV guy, and Cameron's definitely more of the music guy. So I do kind of have to talk about how disappointed I was with the Academy Awards when, what's his name, Rami Malek?
Yeah,
I think that's how
Rami
you say
Malek.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
He should not have won Best Actor that year. I mean, Christian Bale as Dick Cheney in Vice and William Dafoe as Vincent Van Gogh in At Eternity's Gate were so much better. So much. Rami did not do that good of a job. I mean, it's just because he played Freddie Mercury and then that population that's like, dude, I listen to Queen because I'm so cool. I think I see you nodding your head because like you know it's true. You know that's the only reason that dude won an Academy Award. I don't care. I'm gonna say it. I don't think the dude's that talented.
Okay, so I've been kind of liking the trend of more of these, like not necessarily documentary, but like these band movies that have been coming up because they made the one about Elton John. I think there's Rocket Man. I don't think that was a bad one.
It was okay.
It was okay. And what I was kind of hoping that Bohemian Rhapsody would have done was introduced more Queen songs, but it really didn't. It just kind of just played all the ones we already knew, like
It
just
rode on Bohemian Rhapsody.
it really
too
did.
hard.
It really did, and I was a little disappointed in that aspect of it. But I think it did a pretty decent job at recreating the concert and just that atmosphere.
I think if I had to pick a music movie from the past few years, I'm probably going to pick the one about Brian Wilson, Love and Mercy, with John Cusack. That's a very good film.
Not Walk the Line with Joaquin Phoenix.
That's like 15 years old. I mean, Love and Mercy's like maybe 2 or 3.
I don't think I've seen that one.
It's a really good film. I was just, that was the beginning of my obsession with the Beach Boys when I realized they weren't like a surfer bubblegum band, and they actually had like a lot of depth, or at least Brian Wilson had a lot of depth to them. That has literally nothing to do with anything.
Well, I was gonna say, funny that you mentioned that Beach Boys. I don't know if you remember when we went camping in
Brown County?
No, when we went to the
Red River
Gorge, and you were talking to my cousin about it, and you said he started playing Queen, and Brandon goes, "Yeah, I would not list Queen as one of the greatest bands of all time," and Rick goes, "If you're listening to this, Rick, I hope you remember it." He goes, "Oh yeah, who would you replace Queen with?" And you go, "The Beach Boys." And he goes, "The Beach Boys? I like it. That's a hot take, man." That was so funny. That I was thrown off by the Beach Boys, but you had told me that prior. His reaction was just golden. But ultimately, I can see why you would say they're overrated. I think that they're kind of, I wouldn't say as easy of a target as Journey or Bon Jovi. I wouldn't say that they're overrated either. I would say that they're overplayed. I think that Bohemian Rhapsody is honestly, I think it, if it wasn't played and jammed down your throat as much as it is, I think it's one of the greatest songs of all time. I think that it does a really good. I like the setting. I like the shifts and melody and everything.
Yeah, is Stairway to Heaven one of the best songs of all time?
If it wasn't overplayed, I genuinely would say Stairway to Heaven has.
It's a great song, but
it's overplayed. It's overplayed. I don't think it's overrated. I think it's if it wasn't overplayed, if you never heard this song, you would praise it. You would be like, yeah, nobody appreciates this song. It should get more appreciation. I think. You don't agree? You think that if Stairway to Heaven wasn't on the radio, was not ever on the radio, and you were listening to Led Zeppelin 4 and you heard that song, you would be like, yeah, this is one of those songs. Oh, you like Whole Lotta Love? Well, you got to get into like Stairway to Heaven. Like, I genuinely think that Stairway to Heaven would have way more appreciation if it wasn't. And I think the same thing about Bohemian Rhapsody. I think they're both overplayed. And to a degree, that's a good thing. I think that it gets some of those casual music listeners, like I said, those that like Journey and Bon Jovi. Those people typically say, like, yeah, when I like Queen, I list those songs. I think that those songs can kind of be like gateway songs in a way. I would argue that those are more gateway than Bon Jovi or Journey. But I think that if it wasn't overplayed, that it would be appreciated a lot more.
I guess Wayne's World ruined it for us all.
No, it didn't ruin it.
Wayne's World definitely gave that song. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. I really. It is.
I think you're just stubborn. You don't want to.
I'm a little stubborn. You know what?
I can see the conflict in your face. Like, I'm watching this man twist and turn at every word I say. Like,
all right, guys, let's suck it up. Yeah, they're both amazing songs. Can we just move on with our day?
They're just overplayed.
They're overplayed.
So it sounds like I might be getting you off the overrated board just a little bit.
No.
Not. Audience, I think that I'm swaying him. I'll have to argue with him a little bit more off camera.
Let's go on a little break.
Okay, that's fine. All right, we'll be right back with one that kind of died out a little bit, I think.
Howdy, y'all. Welcome back. Now, our next pick, we're going to be talking about one of the most country bands of all time. But no, in actuality, it is Green Day. That is our next take. And this is another one where Cameron and I, we might have some differing opinions. But for me personally, and it does pay me to say it a little bit, because Green Day was one of my first concerts that I attended. But as time has swiveled on, I've just grown out of the vibe that they give. how do I say this politely and as nice as possible? It's more for the weird modern quote emo kids who can't leave 2005 behind. I can see their appeal from a 90s sense, like their stuff from the 90s, as I've so mentioned before. I forget which. I think was it Nirvana that we talked about this. Yeah, it's just like that. Like I'm gonna watch MTV and hang out with my bros on a Friday night. I think they were big around that time, especially with Dookie. It's a good album. Good album. I'm not necessarily saying I absolutely dread Green Day, but I just think for me, kind of like how Red Hot Chili Peppers are to you, Cameron. Green Day is kind of like that for me.
Like
And and that's fine. And that's fine until it's not. It's a gateway. I'd say it's like a gateway that like I can cross it. I can cross it every now and then if I have to get somewhere I need to go. But I would just assume just walk around it and just walk the extra 5 minutes. And you know what? That's fine until it's not. You know what I mean? It's fine until it's not. But I'm not going to go and hate this band completely. Like, one of my favorite songs of theirs is Jesus of Suburbia, and that slaps as a rock opera song. Honestly, this is where we're hitting major opinion season. I would probably take that over rock opera than Bohemian Rhapsody. Sue me and sue my family, but I would rather listen to Jesus of Suburbia than Bohemian Rhapsody. But most of American Idiot is a bit overhyped as an album. There are, again, even the major songs such as American Idiot, Wake Me Up When September Ends, Holiday, like, I can still get on board with them every now and then, but it's not like one of those things that like I can listen to even on a monthly basis. But I will say one thing. If I have to hear Time of Your Life one more time, I will be one angry hobbit.
You mean Good Riddance? You're not.
It's Good Riddance. Time of Your
Life.
Life.
A true fan.
Man, following number 2 of the day. All right, and I guess the one last thing I will say is I don't own any Doc Martens and I don't shop at a Hot Topic, so I'm legally not allowed to like Green Day to begin with.
I've never heard that before, but that's pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think American Idiot as an album is overrated. I think it's actually a really good album. I like a lot of the songs on there. I think St. James is on that one. What's Her Name's on that one. There's some pretty decent ones on there. Boulevard of Broken Dreams. Again, some of their more overplayed songs are on it, but I don't hear, like American Idiot all that much anymore. The song, I don't hear. I hear Holiday every now and again. Boulevard of Broken Dreams is probably the most played song on that album that I hear. Again, Jesus of Suburbia is a really good song. I wouldn't say that. I don't think that Green Day's overrated. I think that they just overstayed their welcome. I think that in kind of a who would I compare them to? I think that
honestly you can compare them to the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I think
I think that the Red Hot Chili Peppers stayed relevant longer. I think that their like Dark Necessities wasn't a great album, and it won't be cited as a good album. But I think that it is. I think that Red Hot Chili Peppers have a way more solid discography than Green Day. Green Day after American Idiot, for me, awful. It died out.
Ghost Trace or Radio Revolution, and what was the last one called?
Father of All Mother Effers.
Don't even say it.
Don't even say it. They are a band, and it's kind of sad because I feel like all of like the pop punk bands from the 2000s, like Blink-182, some 41, they all kind of overstayed their welcome. They were fun, and then they weren't fun. Like they just that's not the sound anymore. They're just a bunch of old men now, just trying to act like they're young adults partying, and it's like, no, you're creepy old dude, Billy Joe, leave me alone.
He's definitely too old to be doing whatever he's doing. I think it just becomes a bit tragic because he's like, well, I'm going to say, before you look up the official answer, I'm going to say he's 46.
Billy Joe. I'm not looking up.
Oh, I thought you were looking up his age. I'm gonna say Billy Joe's 46, and he still dresses like he's a hard punk rocker from like 1993, and obviously he kind of looks like he still does in Green Day or in American Idiot. And
he definitely dyes his hair black.
Yeah, that's great by now. That's
and
then he had his little tantrum. Or remember, it was like the MTV Music Award. No, it was the iHeartRadio Award, and he like went up and he was like I think they cut him short for some reason.
Because Justin Bieber was coming on next. Yeah, I actually thought that was kind of a bit of a middle finger to the music industry. I actually kind of like that. I think that was one of the more iconic Green Day moments. But yeah, he is getting he's. I think that was just the appeal. You know, they were the band of like our parents. You know, like
No.
teenage.
No.
No.
It's the hair metal bands that were. If anything.
Okay, my parents are younger than yours. My parents are pretty young. They Sorry.
So were they like 18 in 2005 when they were the most prevalent?
They were like 20. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, maybe.
Sorry, but yeah, I think that again, I don't think that they're necessarily overrated. I think that you could argue American Idiot is an overrated album, but again, I genuinely like that album. I think Give Me Novocaine's on that one. Are We the Waiting? That's a good one.
Are We the Waiting? That's a good one. I mean, let's not hate on. We talk
Wake
about
Me Up When September Ends is on that album. That one's a little bit overplayed, but I think that's a pretty good song still.
Well, we can't hate on Dookie. Dookie's pretty influential.
Yeah, Dookie's a good album. I really like their 90s discography as well. I think Insomniac's not an amazing album by any means, but I think that it was an okay album. I think Warning was an okay album. At least I think it was better than What Was to Come. I think Warning was a pretty fun song, even though that it allegedly copied off another song, Warning. You know that one? Warning. With that.
Yeah, I think I do. But
yeah, I like that one.
I think Dookie has Longview, Welcome to Paradise, Basket Case is it's a little overplayed, but it's still iconic. She's pretty good. I don't really like When I Come Around.
That was the other one I was trying to think of. That one's on Dookie.
I like what's the song? He's like, my eyes feel like they're gonna bleed. I think
that's Brain Stew. That's an
Brain Stew. That's
a good one. Yeah. That's an okay album. I think Insomniac's an okay album.
I think they need to not necessarily. I wouldn't say not modernize, but they just kind of need to casually mature.
Okay, so here's a hot take, and this might be a controversial opinion, but I kind of wish that they broke up or one of the members died. I think that. Sorry, like I said, it was going to be a controversial. So I don't know if I want to go here, but I'm going to. We're gonna take a couple steps back. I don't mean to harp on the grunge movement so much, but I think that a lot of the bands in the grunge movement, such as Nirvana, have a pretty solid discography because they were cut short. I think that if Nirvana would have kept going, they would have probably.
It would have been a long shot to like them, if you know what I mean.
They would have. Yeah, I think that their sound wouldn't have changed much if they would have. You know what I'm saying?
There's like a funny again, Cameron and I love animation. We both love Family Guy. There's like a funny Family Guy bit where like Stewie goes back in the past and saves Kurt Cobain by giving him yogurt.
Yeah.
And then it actually saves his life, but he just becomes fat and like he still performs
like an acoustic player or something like that. Yeah. No, that I genuinely think that if, like I said, if Green Day was if they broke up, if Green Day was after American Idiot, they would have been a pretty solid band. But I think that because they stayed around, they kind of overstayed their welcome. And while I wouldn't say they're necessarily overrated, I do think that they kind of like sold out. I guess like they just tried too hard at the end.
They could have used some like Irish whiskey and some like Vicodin to take down, just something or barbiturates, just something to kind of keep the death a coming. No, I understand. I think one of them, especially Billy Joe, if they would have died, they would be the greatest band to ever live on this earth.
Yeah, they would have just, like, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Nobody wants to say it, but I'll say it,
American Idiot would be ranked like the 5th greatest album of all time.
All right, you know what? Speaking of rock, let's go back. Let's go to one that.
Let's go to 1956.
Let's go to one that I will argue can be seen as overrated.
The king of rock and roll.
The king of rock and roll, Elvis.
Elvis Presley. Thank you.
What's his
Thank
middle initial?
much.
I was gonna be more dramatic. What's
Aaron.
Elvis?
Is it Aaron?
A. Presley.
Honestly, I think it is Aaron. I'm gonna Elvis Aaron Presley.
So Brandon here is a really big Elvis fan, and I'll let him go on his little tangent. Contrary to popular opinion, sorry, let me continue, Brandon. I'm about to let you say what you want to say. Let me say what I want to say. Let me present my argument.
Present your argument.
Brandon here is a really big Elvis fan, and my uncle Ricky, not to be mistaken with my cousin Rick, is a huge Elvis fan as well. So I was raised on Elvis. I would not say that I hate Elvis, but I do think that Elvis can be argued that he is overrated. I think that he blatantly stole, from the jazz genre. I think it's pretty obvious to see his roots. And I think that some of his songs are pretty basic, but I guess at the time you could argue that he was, different, because we were coming out of the swing era, right? When Elvis started to show up on it was more like swing, or it was kind of like on the.
It's like cool jazz. It's like
I was gonna say it was coming off.
Well,
of
it's
swing.
like cool jazz. It's like hard.
Well, swing
blues.
is like a type of jazz, isn't it? Like it's like a.
Well, yeah. But I'm saying it's like
sorry.
more like both of them. It's like swing and like the more chill jazz that we're kind of familiar with now. It's you get a lot of blues during that time. That's where a lot of rock bands that would come through the 60s and 70s were actually influenced by a lot of the 40s and 50s blues singers. Lots of folk, country kind of played its way into all the genres. Really, like rock and roll was just kind of a mix. Not as much jazz, but it definitely did. I hate to say you're right. I hate it, but you're onto something there.
Okay, now let me continue.
Continue, please.
Elvis, I think, sold out to a degree. I think that the Vegas version of Elvis is one of the grossest transformations of a musical artist. I think, in a way, now I'm a big UFC fan. I think that he is the Conor McGregor of music to a degree. Conor McGregor was a very talented fighter, and then he kind of became full of himself. And I wouldn't say Elvis was necessarily full of himself, but I think that the fame caught up to him, and he kind of let himself go. And his songs really had no depth after when he went into that transformation. And I am getting so sick and tired of seeing so many Elvises in Vegas. I don't know why he's such a huge icon in Vegas. I don't know. You're probably going to explain it to me in a second. But I think that it's kind of ridiculous to see so many Elvises in Vegas. I think in that part, at least that version of him is overrated.
You're not.
Oh no! I'd be swaying Brandon again.
I don't think you're on a dirt track if we're trying to ride the interstate. I think we're not too far off. I just think there's no doubt that this dude is iconic. I mean, he is one of the most iconic and influential musicians of modern times. There's no doubt about it. Whether you like him or not, he's iconic. I even think, where I'll kind of jump on your opinion a little bit, I think we need to have a little bit more of a shift of the attention to some of the other pioneers of rock and roll, such as Buddy Holly, Jerry Lee Lewis, Little Richard, Chuck Berry.
Rest in peace to Little Richard.
Rest in peace to all of them, bro.
Little Richard died this year, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Or maybe last year. Jerry Lee Lewis is definitely going to be on his way out. Buddy Holly, obviously, unfortunately died in a plane crash back in the day the music died. We all heard that great song, American Pie. Carl Perkins, Bill Haley. There's just a lot of iconic originators of rock and roll that we need to be like, okay, you know who Elvis is, but do you know who Little Richard is?
Yeah.
Because Little Richard is Prince before Prince. I mean, literally, like this dude, like almost the exact same like timeline and like how they presented themselves is almost the same. So if you like Prince, you'll love Little Richard.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I wholeheartedly agree. I think that you got me onto Little Richard, and yeah.
And I really do. He's not really an album guy. That's where like I love just sitting down and listening to an album. But Elvis is one of the more single artists. Like he's more known for singles. And number one is full of bops. We got Burning Love, Jailhouse Rock, Can't Help Falling in Love, Hound Dog, Suspicious Minds. Those are the biggies, but I guess the quote hidden gems on that album is Marie's the Name of His Latest Flames and Return to Sender. I think the real issue I don't know if we have any big baseball fans, but so Ted Williams in I think 1940s, like towards the end of World War II, this dude was at the peak of his career with the Boston Red Sox, and he just like had the batting the highest batting average one year. It was like 400, which is insane. But basically, this dude paused what he was doing to go fight in the military, or we would probably be talking about Ted Williams over Babe Ruth like any day. Sort of the same thing with Elvis. Elvis decided to go in and join the army at the height of his career. Oh, not.
I wouldn't say like.
I wouldn't say the height, but I would say when this dude is the bee's knees. But again, there is no denying that even after this, he is one of the biggest names of he's one of the most important folk of the mid-century. And at this time, we also see him do a lot more movies, which are well known, and I have to say there's not really a bad one to watch. And that was kind of a joke a little bit, but you do have a lot of iconic films that he did make, such as Jailhouse Rock, Viva Las Vegas, King Creole, and Follow That Dream. And I'd probably even say Love Me Tender are pretty iconic. And while he's not, that was kind of, what happened was like his manager basically wasn't allowed overseas, so he didn't really go to that audience and kind of distinguish himself more and become the pop star and kept up with other European bands such as the Beatles, who were kind of taking on the world. He just kind of stopped, and basically he just did all these like movies. He did like an insane amount of them. Actually, most of them are pretty awful. I don't know. I think I'm not going to really say any more in regards to that, because I think you're right. Once he hits like kind of sells out, he hits the Vegas. He kind of not only lets
because when was that?
Go,
that was like the 70s?
Late 60s,
yeah, I was gonna say
early
late
70s.
60s, early 70s. Yeah.
Yeah, and he kind of lets himself go. He's not a very good performer. But at that point, he doesn't really have any good singles or good albums. His movies are pretty trash. He did kind of sell out, and if he would have lived longer, such as our friend Kurt Cobain and like Jimi Hendrix, then he probably
would have ruined his legacy.
Would have ruined his legacy. There's something about him dying on a toilet that is just so iconic and cool.
No, not at all. I don't think Elvis's entire like musical career or discography in itself is overrated. I think that just that little portion is what people see Elvis as, like I think that people forget about his more like well-tailored, when he was wearing more of his suit and he was on his acoustic guitar and was like, he was a little bit more of like a good country boy, like not country boy, but
from Tupelo, Mississippi.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess you could say country boy, but like I don't think that image of Elvis is necessarily overrated. I think that as an artist, I wouldn't say Elvis as a whole is overrated. I would just say that portion of his life is just too much, too everywhere.
Well, I got the grand luxury of going to Vegas over the summer, and it's awful.
You did not like Vegas?
I did not like Vegas, not even remotely. I mean, the architecture is cool, and In-N-Out was amazing, but it was just awful.
You have to have a taste for it.
I have to have a
I've
taste
heard.
for it, and I did see a bunch of Elvises. I'm just like, guys, like, go do something.
Yeah.
Make something of
Why?
yourself.
I don't understand why that's the trend though.
I think it's just like kind of that cool like when in Vegas type of things, like why you can get like married there. I think there's even like an Elvis like chapel that you can get married at, and
oh my gosh,
it's
no,
stupid.
that's too much.
It's like, well, if you want to go do anything Elvis, let's actually take a trip to Tupelo, Mississippi. There's nothing to do in Mississippi, except if you're in the battlefield, there's Vicksburg. But really, Mississippi is just hickland, and that's it. But his childhood and birth home is really cool to see. It's kind of how you imagine it, like a one story house. There's like 3 rooms, one for his parents, one for him in the kitchen, and it's very small. The town, while it's kind of got that small town America feel, it's also still feels very small. And honestly, if you didn't want to take a trip, obviously the more iconic place to go is Graceland. Graceland, I also had the honor of going to this summer. Not worth the money, but it is cool to see how this man, this larger than life figure, presented himself.
I feel like we need to move on here soon, but I will say that while you've been talking, I've been going over in my head whether I think he deserves to be the king of rock and roll or not. And I think in a way he does, because while I think in his later career he started to sell out a little bit, I think his earlier career was very inspirational. He inspired a little band known as the Beatles. I think that the Beatles, while it's probably not as talked about as, like, I think James Brown is one of their most cited influences. Elvis was actually a really big influence on the Beatles when they came to him, or when the Beatles started to blow up. They were actually like apparently dressing like similar to him, and their manager was getting really aggravated. He was like, "No, we need to look more distinct. You guys look too much like, Elvis Presley already." So they were actually kind of, in a way, almost copying his image, at least at the very, very beginning. So I think that, with that being said, and like with a list of other artists that have been influenced with him, that's just the one that's coming to my mind just because of that story alone. I think that he is the father of rock and roll, but again, I think that he just ended up selling out and became overrated.
Very, very last thing. If you need to listen to any album of his, if you're more of that type of person, Elvis Presley, self-titled, is probably his most iconic, or you can listen to his Sunrise stuff. But you said father. You said father of rock and roll, which leads us to our next point, to the person who is not the father of modern rap, Tupac.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna take a little bit of a 180 here. We've been talking about rock. We went into the hair metal bands, we went into the punk rock, and then we went into the very
pioneers.
roots. Exactly, the pioneers.
But Tupac.
We need to go into a little bit. We need to go into hip hop. And I think that we need to talk about a gangster. We need to change it up a bit.
Quote gangster.
Yeah. No, don't quote gangster. He was a West Coast gangster. I don't care what you say.
Tupac is not as tough as they make him out to be. Dude was probably a little wimp back in the day.
Okay, here we go. We're gonna fight. We're gonna fight here. This is the one.
Nah, he's. I wish I could say it. He is a B star. Honestly, and you, Cameron, you even agree with me. I don't know even why you're saying this. East Side rap any day of the week. East Coast is where it's at. Notorious B.I.G. at least has deep lyrics with catchy beats. What does Tupac have? Quote, deep lyrics?
No. Yo, the only thing that can kill me is death.
Yeah, exactly. His hits are annoying, and he doesn't really have any hidden gems to offer from his work either. I'd rather listen to Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Ice Cube, N.W.A., Ice-T, or any of those artists any day. Like, the one thing I might give him is Hit 'Em Up. Hit 'Em Up is a very hard track. It is one of the best of all time, obviously, but I think he's all talk and no play. That's why he got shot like a little punk in Vegas.
Wow. Oh, wow. No. So
the dude was a ballerina. Just remember that.
The dude was a ballerina, and then have you ever seen the two interviews compared to him when he was like talking about? Yeah, I think we've definitely talked about this before. It is so funny because like he went from like, I absolutely love women. They need to be treated with respect. To I beat the crap out of that lady, and then he went to jail for you know domestic violence or
Violence.
whatever it was. The dude, you cannot say the dude was not a gangster. Okay, he might not have been as deep as people praise him to be, and I will agree. I do like the East Coast a lot more, but Tupac is probably one of the most down to earth artists. I think that he's one of the few artists, unlike Elvis, that you could say he didn't let the fame go to his head. He was constantly seen like on the corners, in the streets, you know, people just saw the reason why he resonated with everybody was because he was a people person. He was with the people, and he was for the people, and
Was he by the people
he was
too?
by the people. I know. He was by the people. Get out of here. How can you say he doesn't have any? California Love is one of one of my favorite hip hop songs. Like I always go to it. I just love that song. It goes so hard.
It doesn't go hard.
Yes,
It's
it
cliche
does.
and it has nothing to offer. If you want to listen to that, just go listen to Gin and Juice.
Okay, I will say it's a little cliche, but I don't care. I absolutely love that song. I have you ever seen like the behind the scenes on that? And they're just like, yeah,
Yeah.
we're talking. Yeah, that ruined the song for me. Listening to Dre talk about how we just want to party and all that. I was like, okay, I was like, never mind. But I think that Dear Mama, Ambitious as a Writer, Changes. I think that he had a lot of decent songs that resonated with the people.
Well, I do know this is something that we talked about, but his album lengths, that's a part of it. That's kind of a turnoff for me. I
Yeah.
mean, his album is just like, this dude just thought he had so much to say that each of them were like, over an hour long. And I just don't have the patience to listen to garbage for. It's not garbage. Okay, you're not swaying me, but I mean, and I don't. I'm stumbling just because I don't know what to think. I think I don't. He's not the worst thing to ever come out of the planet, but I don't think he's as amazing as everyone makes him out to be.
I can agree.
He's
You've
iconic.
you've yeah, I would list him more as an icon than like a deep lyricist. A lot of people I don't know. You brought me around to this. You kind of made me realize this, and we've had this argument before. Um, you've definitely convinced me that he's not as deep as people say he is. I don't understand why so many like actual like critics actually praise him to be the lyricist that he is. Maybe I'm just being naive or something like that, but I went back and listened to like Ambitious as a Writer, and it definitely overstays its welcome. I think that he does too many songs that are too similar to one another. His messages don't really fluctuate. They usually, stick to, yeah, this is real. This is the streets. I'm real. West Coast pride. All this, and it's like you don't. He doesn't really like, you know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying. It's like I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio.
Yeah, I do think he flaunts around the fact that he's West Coast, but you also have to look at the time. Um, you have to don't mock me. The West Coast was showing up on the scene. The East Coast radio had dominated. The music industry. We had like Sugar Hill Gang, Beastie Boys, obviously, Biggie, and then Snoop Dogg and Dre went and won the award, and they really divided the audience because West Coast was really happy to see that, but the East Coast were getting kind of mad that the West Coast were kind of showing up. And that's when you really start to see that war between the West Coast and East Coast. And Tupac was a front runner in all of that. And the dude was, he might not be deep, but the dude was hard as heck.
Nails. He was hard as nails.
The dude, he got shot 5 times, twice in the head, and came back and then just wrote the meanest diss track of all time. I think Hit 'Em Up is a meaner diss track than No Vaseline, and I will stand by that. I think he just goes into Biggie. I think that he tears Biggie a new one.
I think No Vaseline's probably better and catchier.
I mean, say what you want, but I don't think I agree with that. I think No Vaseline is really good, and I think that you could argue that either of them are the greatest diss track of all time. But I think that Hit 'Em Up, it's a little bit more ruthless because like you listen to No Vaseline, and Ice Cube had a few more targets, so it was a little bit harder for him to like focus his attention on one person. And he didn't really go into the entire NWA cast. He didn't go into Yellow as much as he went into like Eazy-E. And I think that the fact that Ice Cube was holding back a little bit on some of the members more than the others is kind of what made me think of this is less of an NWA diss track and more of a Eazy-E and MC Ride, or not MC Ride. Who's the other guy?
From NWA?
Yeah. It's not MC Ride. MC Ride's Death Grips. I don't know why I just thought of him.
See.
Ren. It was MC Ren.
Ren.
Yeah, that's what it was.
The forgotten one.
Yeah, the easily forgotten one.
I think he's the one. He followed my old Twitter account for some reason. I think I gave a shout out to NWA when they were selected to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It was either him or Yellow. I think it was MC Rendo.
Followed your Twitter account?
Follow my Twitter account after I gave him a shout out.
Bull. I don't believe that.
I'll show you in a minute. I will show you in a minute. Once we're done, clear this up. We're done. Okay,
You get what I'm saying though? Like I think that
I get what you're saying, dog. However, I mean, 50 Cent got shot, and like he got shot what, like 7, 8, 9 times, and he doesn't really flaunt it.
50 Cent's also not on the same level as Tupac. Tupac didn't make a song about a birthday.
Yep. Go shawty.
I did not like 50 Cent. 50 Cent. Sorry to go on this
ramp of 50 Cent. I like 50 Cent.
I don't like that neoclassical era of rap, and 50 Cent was like one of the front runners of that era, and I did not like it. Sorry,
I was going to say this has nothing to do with anything. But you always mention like these like East Coast gang, or not East Coast gang, East King. Well, I guess gang, like because they're brothers and they're in like rap groups. But these East Coast rap groups, bro. What about Public Enemy or Eric B and Rakim, dude? You never mentioned them.
I thought Public Enemy was. Are they East? I thought they were South.
No, they're straight out of Long Island. I think so. Yeah, I think they're kind of like Wu-Tang. They're definitely from New York. I don't know if they're from Long Island. I think. Just double check it really quick.
Yeah,
Long Island.
That. Oh, boom. My bad. I'm not educated on Public Enemy. I definitely thought they were South Side. Who's the other South Side? There's another. That's not Outkast. They're not
Lil Wayne.
No, not Lil Wayne. I'll think of it some other time. We'll have to talk about it later because we're kind of harping on Tupac and going on too many.
We are on our last one. I think she's from Cali, isn't she?
I think so.
She's based out of Cali, and
we've been talking pretty old. We need to
come back to the new age,
the modern. Yeah, we need to talk to our modern audience.
Billie Eilish.
Okay, so I'll let you go on your rant, but let me say this. I think that while a lot of people think Billie Eilish is A, one-noted, and B, an industry plant, I really like her sound. I think that her whole spiel and act is something that really just I like about it. I like this anti-pop movement. I think that it's kind of like the new, wave, and I think that she is a good, I guess you could say, gateway into the genre. Like if you want to get more of a Billie Eilish sound, there's other artists that you could go in and listen to that I think you could say definitely influence Billie Eilish, and I think you'll go into this a little bit more.
I can play both sides. I can play the lover and I can play the devil's advocate. I see her importance at this very moment. As soon as she dropped, I was just like, okay, I see where she's going. I personally think she'll fade away into the cosmos. I think the music industry is going to be like, okay, she's going to have like one or two more like big albums with a bunch of hits, but then after that, she's just going to be thrown under a bus and forgotten. But she also could go the other way. If she doesn't go that route, she's definitely going to mature and like level her playing field out. And I think she'll become someone like Alanis Morissette, Lorde, or Fiona Apple. She probably won't become a Katy Perry. I don't think she's going to become like a Katy Perry where she just like falls off the map all of a sudden. I don't know. It's going to go one way or the other. And her style is unique, and it's so cool. It's so cool that, I mean, not because it's like something within a 5-year range radius of us, but it is cool. I just hate the people who try and copy it. It's just like, guys, go make your own style. Go somewhere besides Hot Topic. Like, Hot Topic was not cool 5 years ago, and now it is. I don't know. I'm a little bit over the people who like her, kind of the same with most of these bands. I'm over the people who like her, but I don't necessarily hate her. And I do think When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go is going to be one that we're going to remember, kind of like Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill. I think we are going to remember it. I do think she'll probably have one or two more big albums, and then if she doesn't mature, then she'll fade into obscurity.
Yeah, I think she's too new to really decide ultimately. But I had listened to Billie Eilish prior to her first album release, and I was not impressed. I really did not like her sound. And then when her first album came out, I don't know what it was, but something really clicked with me, and I genuinely enjoyed it. And this was me coming out of my really big, like, old rock phase. Like, I was listening to a lot of 80s and 70s, like, just those older rock songs. So it was kind of like a really big shift for me. And I know I surprised a lot of, like, my friends when I was, like, praising this album. I think that, when I go into debates about Billie Eilish, a lot of people talk about, like I said before, she's one-noted. I think she's too new to really decide, and I've heard that argument before. That's not an original piece from me. I don't remember who said it, but when they said it, I totally agreed. I think that she's too new to really say if she's one-noted. I think that she's definitely has similar styles, and I think that her album, like you said, will be cited as one of, like, those good albums. It's just she's a singles person. She released a lot of singles. She has released a lot of singles.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish she would do more albums to see, because she doesn't really even write her own music. Her brother writes it, I'm pretty sure. I want to see if they do anything that really, because I don't think she's all in all a very good, like, singer. I think that's why she kind of does her style, kind of like the Lord style, where she kind of, like, whispers almost, and you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about, but I mean...
But I think that's the appeal of it, is the anti-pop, is she's not really singing, she's just,
I mean, Bob Dylan can't sing, and he's one of the greatest musicians to ever live.
Okay, good point. But
I agree. No, I can get on board with what you're saying, though.
Yeah, I think that it's just too soon. I think that Bad Guy, most overplayed song though. I definitely
this last year.
That is song. The 2000. If it came out probably mid 2000s, I would say that it was the Smells Like Teen Spirit of the 2010s.
What?
I'm saying, like, it's the sound of the song that was, like, constantly played in the 2010s. I think that it was too late. You know what I'm saying? No, you don't know what I'm saying. Because Smells Like Teen Spirit came out in 92, and it was, like, the most played song in the 90s, right? I think that Bad Guy, if it would have been released earlier, would have been, like, the most played song of the 2010s.
Much clearer.
There you go. Sorry, yeah, that was a little bit of a niche joke or statement. Maybe I had to explain myself a little bit more. All in all, don't think Billie Eilish is necessarily overrated. I think that just because she's played a lot on the mainstream radio right now doesn't really make her overrated. People might be getting tired of Bad Guy, but I don't think people are necessarily tired of her sound as a whole.
I agree. So we talked about all these, like, basically trash artists, like, no one really cares about today. And you know what? A lot of people are probably not going to agree with everyone. As a matter of fact, there's going to be a lot of people who disagree with pretty much every single one. But that's okay. That's where we like to stir things up. We like to, what do you say, fight the envelope. But thank you so much, everyone, for listening. And just try not to catch COVID this season.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you guys on the next episode.